Hey there, Brian King here, doing something a little different today. Instead of doing the video live, I'm doing it pre-recorded because I want to include some content here that I really want to highlight because this is an important subject. The title of an article that I found today is called Mindful Parenting for ADHD. And mindfulness, in some people, they consider it a buzzword. But honestly, this is something that's been around for a couple thousand years. You know, it was most practiced by the Buddha, who I'm sure that you are familiar with, and it's been gradually incorporated into Western society because of science. You know, science has a way of wanting proof, evidence. So it did some studies on the value of mindfulness and really put it out there in a much more Western, credible way. But this is something I've been practicing for 20 years, and I use it with my clients on a regular basis to make them much more powerful, especially in the parenting role. And one of the great things about this article is it really emphasized the shifts that mindfulness can help parents make, especially when raising a child with ADHD, Asperger's, dyslexia, and there's a lot of frustration that goes into the parenting role. So the shifts that are really essential to make are initially you begin with distractibility. You're operating on autopilot. You know, you're just a creature of habit. You know, you're just doing the same old routine. And this shows up in power struggles. You know, there are a lot of parents that I work with where they say, this is the way it's always been. You know, I tell him to clean his room and he blows up at me. And the parent doesn't realize that you're essentially doing a dance. This is the same dance with the same steps that you've been doing for years with your child. And it's all of these unconscious habits that you've practiced and reinforced for so long that that's all you know. But, and this is something really, really important, the past does not equal the future. What you tend to do is not what you are destined to do. So just because you have these long-standing patterns doesn't mean that this is how it's going to be for the rest of your life. You can create a new dance, you can learn new steps, and so can your child. So the shift you want to make from distractibility and operating on autopilot is to attention and awareness. Okay? Attention means that you are alert, you are awake to what's going on, as opposed to just going through the motions. You know, your awareness of first and foremost declaring, you know, I've been doing this for a long time and it's not working. I need to do something new. My child and I deserve a better relationship. So that's where it starts. The second essential shift is from reactivity to responsiveness. Now, what is reactivity? There's no doubt that you've experienced. It means you just have a reaction. You don't necessarily know where it came from. Like you're sitting there, then all of a sudden your child does something and you blow up at them. And then after the fact, you say, what the heck was that for? Where did that come from? Well, because there's some trigger in there. It's very emotionally charged. And something happened, something you saw your child do, something that your child might have said, and something set you off. And when you are spending a lot of time reacting, then you are simply, it's like shooting off a gun without aiming. You're not choosing those responses. You're simply having them. When you go to responsiveness, there's actually a pause built in where you look at the situation and you say, what am I going to do here? What am I going to say? How am I going to respond in a very attentive and aware, conscious way so that I influence the situation the way I want to, as opposed to the way I'm used to? See the difference? And the third shift that's very important is from reliance on entrenched habits to intentional creative problem solving. That's kind of what I was just describing. Those entrenched habits that just keep you on the hamster wheel and don't improve things, to decisions that create problem solving. I'll give you a story that I've shared many, many times over the years. There was one day when my now 14-year-old, he was about 6 or 7, He was looking for a snack, grabbed a box of cereal, spilled it all over the floor. Now, I could have reacted and said, what the heck were you doing? Weren't you thinking? You should have checked to see if the box was open. And all of these ridiculous expectations about why this problem shouldn't exist in the first place. Or I could realize that I want to teach my child to be resilient. I want to teach my child to be a problem solver. So when you are intentional and focus on creative problem solving, what you're going to do is step into it and say, how do I nurture these in my child? How do I respond in such a way that it teaches him to bounce back from this mistake and also learn to problem solve? So he looked at me after he spilled the cereal expecting me to freak out, because in the past, I have. But in this instance, I was much more aware, much more intentional. So I said to him, quite a mess we've got here. Quite a mess we've got here, okay? Because we are involved in the problem-solving process. I'm not blaming him. I want to involve him in problem-solving. We have a mess here. Then I would ask, what are we going to do to clean it up? And he looked at me and said, get the broom and the dustpan? And I said, that's a great idea. Where do we keep those? He said, oh, it's behind the fridge. Awesome. Do you want to go and get those for us? Sure. He went over and got the broom and dustpan. Then he brought it over. He looked at me again. He says, how can we use those to clean this up? Then he crouched down. He began cleaning it up. And he said the cutest thing, because he was still hungry. He looks at the cereal in the dirty dustpan and he asked me, can I still eat this? I said, no, this is kind of dirty. We'll put this in the garbage and we'll find something else to snack on. So the key here was that I immediately aligned with him. Instead of saying, I'm the big bad parent and I'm shaming you and scolding you and making you feel bad because you screwed up, I immediately enlisted him in this process of collaborative problem solving, okay? And it can be a simple shift in language. So he cleaned it up, put it in the garbage, got himself a snack, and we were good. Because we didn't start with blame and anger and all that stuff. We immediately went to the problem solving. Because we want to teach our kids to be confident, competent problem solvers. We don't want them to raise up to believe that they are problems, which too many of our kids learn. Now, the fourth shift is from reflexive judgment to open-minded discernment. Let me tell you how I interpret that. Reflexive judgment is all of those scripts on the back of your head that should. You shouldn't dress like that. You shouldn't hold your fork that way. You shouldn't use your pencil like that. And all of those things that have been programmed into you, a lot of it's BS, okay? A lot of it is the stuff that school and other parents or your folks embedded in your head that really are not the way the world is going to operate for our kind of kiddos that need very creative ways to do things. So open-minded discernment. Again, the way I take that is you approach each problem with greater curiosity, okay? What are our options here? I know there's the way I do it. I know there's the way I was taught it and others do it, but what other options exist for us in order to solve this problem? And for our kids, we need to be creative problem solvers, not agents of the norm, that we're trying to force our kids into, we don't want to get them to be normal at the expense of being creative problem solvers, because normal doesn't work for anybody, okay? Last shift, we need to move from criticism and impatience to compassion for yourself and others. Well, what does compassion mean? It does not mean sympathy, okay? Compassion means that you realize that we all struggle. We all suffer in some way. We're all trying to find our own way in this world. Nobody escapes that part of the human experience. So it's really essential to look upon your struggling child, and instead of criticizing them, you're too slow, you need to move faster, you need to try harder, come on already, I've told you 100 times. Instead, you come from that place that understands My child, we both suffer. We both struggle. I get it. Let me figure out how I can support you so that you can struggle a little less. So I don't know if you got a chance to read this whole article. I hope that you do. And I hope that I've been able to add more depth to it, because these shifts are so, so critical. And I don't word them exactly that way when I work with the parents that I do. But these themes always come up, and I wanted to make sure that I share this with you so you can begin thinking about these as well. I hope this has been helpful for you, and have an awesome day, and I hope to create another video like this for you very soon.